Hi everyone, this video is for your hips. So we're going to be working on CARS today, and that stands for Controlled Articulated Rotations. And that simply means that as we move in our hip joint, we're going to take care to do it in a controlled way, and also in a way that we don't feel any pain or serious discomfort. The whole idea is that we get our brain used to the ranges of motion that our hips can make and tell our brain it's safe, it's fine, I can move in this way. So if you spend a couple of minutes every day doing one of the two exercises or both of the exercises that I show you, then you should see over time, if you are consistent with the exercises, that your hip and left to right will eventually open up and be more mobile, which means if you have more mobility in your hips, then other places in your body that may have been carrying an extra load or tension to compensate might start feeling better as well, including low back or knees, areas like that. All right, so two different exercises. We're going to go 2 rounds left and right, hips, and then I'll start you on your back, and we'll eventually end up on our hands and knees. So come to your back first. And once you get there, you can start with your palms at your sides. And I'm going to send my left leg long so that I can concentrate on my right leg. And I'm more or less at a 90 degrees at the hip so that my knee is stacked right over my hip. And I just naturally flex my foot, but if you want to have a little bit of relaxation to it, that's fine as well. I like to put my hand on my knee so I know what my knee is up to. I'm going to rotate just at the hip to externally, which means the inside of my hip is going to rotate out towards the side. That means that my foot comes in towards my center line. And then I'm going to take that in the opposite direction, nice and slow. So my inside of my hip is rotating inward towards my midline, and my foot is going to reach out to the side. And then I'll do that 2 more times, and I'm taking care that my knee is staying stacked right over the top of my hip, and that it is not falling inward or outward to the side. And once you get 3 nice and casual rounds of going in and going out, then I suggest that you do at least 1 more range. So this is your center range. And then you have somewhere in the middle, and if you start to feel a little rolling over to the side, then you can plant your hand on your hip to help you firm down. And then take 3 of those same slow rotations, just moving at the hip joint. So your thigh bone is the one rolling around in that joint. I like to go super slow, just so I can feel what is happening as I move. And as you get to that 3rd round, if it's more than enough to get you going with that center line and then the leg a little out to the side for your hip to feel fantastic, then you can stay there. Or you can take a 3rd round where you open up to that end range, wherever that's at. You'll feel that stopping point where you cannot open the leg up any further. And then you can start working at your end range to rotate 3 times inward and outward. You already might start feeling a bit more supple in this first hip by the time you get to that 3rd round. And if you're not going to your end range for whatever reason, maybe make that 3rd round coming back to center and doing a 3rd round there. You're going to let that leg go long, relax it, and then you'll switch. So we're going to start at that midline, and you're going to make sure that you have a 90 degree, your knee is stacked right over your hip, and then you can start rotating in and out. So imagining that just your thigh bone here is the one that's able to turn. And after you get to that 3rd round, then you can go either to that center point. You might need that hand on the hip to help you You'll take 3 rounds there, nice and slow. Just letting the hip roll around. And then if you want, your 3rd round can be to either stay in this range or to come back to center or to open up to that end range, wherever the hip can go open its widest. I prefer trying to work in a variety of angles, but it's your hip, it's your day. You decide how all the pieces are feeling. Once you get to that 3rd round, you can bring it all back to center. You can let it relax, go long, maybe do a little jiggle. And if that's all you have time for, that's all you have time for. But if you want to take that second car action, then come to your tabletop. And quickly, just before we start to move through the hips, you can always come to fists or even elevate the palms up so that you shift a little bit more weight back and you're off your shoulders and your wrists. So find, again, that 90-90 where the hips are stacked right over the knee. And then once you get there, we're going to start with our right side. We're going to go in 2 directions. So lift the foot slightly off the floor, the shin, the knee, and then you're going to bring that knee towards your elbow. I'm going to go slow the first round so that I can talk you through a couple things. I'm not letting my low back bend upward like a cat. I'm staying nice and strong from tailbone to top of head. And then I'm reaching out towards the side, but I'm also not letting my right hip hike up. I'm going to keep it as even as I can with that left hip. And then I'm going to downward rotate my knee. My foot punches up towards the ceiling. And as I do that, I'm not taking and bowing of that low belly back towards the floor. I'm going to stay strong from tailbone to top of head. One straight line. And then I'll draw my knee back in and take one more round in this first direction. I'm strong through the belly and core, so nothing is moving besides my hip. You can even place something heavy-ish on that low belly back area so that you can tell what you're doing, whether you're bowing at that back and bending at the spine. And then take the opposite direction. So foot pops up towards the ceiling. I'm not letting that low back extend towards the floor. Reaching out towards the side. My hip is not elevating. And then I'm reaching towards the elbow, back to center. And then once more, if you're not sure, you can always have somebody watch you, somebody you trust to perhaps even touch you. And then you can also take yourself at a mirror. That would help. All right, so second side. Take a little lift of the foot and the knee. Bring it towards the elbow arm, out to the side. Kick it up towards the ceiling. And then bring it back to center. Again, trying to control any movement that's happening, especially in the hips left and right, and in that low back, any flexion or extension. We're going to reverse our directions. You can do more than 2 in both directions. You can do 3 in one direction and then switch and then come to a different position off your wrists and palms. Take a rest and then go back to your palms and your knees and then do both left and right in the opposite direction. All right, you can also do these standing. All the same rules apply. So if you're standing up, you might want to brace yourself against a wall and then bring your knee forward. Do it in a couple of different angles. And then the same applies where you can turn and make all of that happen. Again, trying to control belly and spine. It's a little bit more challenging when you're standing. So it could bring another element to your brain and to your hips. So I would suggest starting on your back and in tabletop first and then going up to a standing position. I really hope that helped, and as long as you're consistent with it, you should start seeing results fairly quickly, and as long as you stick with it, you'll continue to find mobility in all the ranges that are necessary for your daily movement. Thanks for watching.